Hello and welcome to another episode of Alliance Insights. I'm Sharla Floyd, Director of Strategic Research and Development with the Risk and Insurance Education Alliance's Research Academy. And I'm so excited to be joined by Katy Knapp today, a product of the CISR High School Program. Welcome, Katy.
Hi, thank you.
Thanks so much for being with us today and sharing your story and even going back further for being as involved as you have been with this program. It's been exciting to hear more about your story, get to know you a little more, and see how really some of these efforts that we have underway within the industry to expose students at an earlier time than in the university path, but in high school, you're a product of that. It's so exciting. So with that, I would say let's start with a brief introduction. What's your role? Where are you? How long have you been in that role today?
Right. Well, I am currently working at Insurica in Sand Springs, Oklahoma. I am right now. I'm technically an assistant account manager. I just actually got my license a couple months ago, so we're still working on like going through everything, so I know what all to do once I handle my own accounts. I did actually intern with them last summer after I graduated high school before going off to college, which didn't last for terribly long, but now I'm back.
Now you're back. We talked a lot about how the insurance industry is one that's there. It's about people. And I think what's especially exciting for me to have this conversation with you today is for as many years as I've been working in the emerging talent space, the most motivating aspect of it is the humanizing component. We can talk about emerging talent all day long, but when you actually get to talk to and hear from someone who's been through it, who is a product of it, like you, that just, if that doesn't motivate the industry to show up for students, I don't know what will, because that's really what keeps me going with this role, with this path, and with this industry on a daily basis. So I've just got to start by saying thank you for the inspiration. But how did you get into the CISR High School Program? Your school had a really unique combination of student organizations and the program itself. What did that look like for you to start?
All right, so I decided my sophomore year of high school that I was going to go to Central Tech, which is a VOTech school that works with high schools around the area. There's several of them in Oklahoma, but I went to Central Tech in Drumright, and I went through their business and information technology program. And during that, I got involved with Business Professionals of America, which I really enjoyed. We did a lot of competitions where we'd go compete at the state level, and then I actually got to go compete at the national level both years. And then my second year, I chose to continue going to that class, and one of our first courses for all of the second year programs was the CISR course, which was actually partially sponsored by Insurica.
Mhm. And you earned the designation. You went through it. From what you told me, it doesn't sound like saying no to things that are a challenge or that will enrich you. That doesn't seem to be your MO. It's jumping in to the student organization and also to the CISR program is, and that's really admirable, because it's kind of easy to just to take high school at face value, but the fact that you went above and beyond, it's so telling and critical and impressive on the part of Insurica, because we talk about local industry engagement and how vital that was. What did it look like with Insurica showing up? How did they show up? What was your impression? Why did that stand out for you as a connection beyond the fact that they were sponsoring the CISR High School Program? What did their presence mean? How did that motivate you further?
So I know during my time at Tech, I knew they would come and do walkthroughs of our class to see like while we were working on the program and stuff. And I was never there personally when they did that. But the fact that they did that speaks a lot, for one. And then my instructor, Safina Frank, loved her. Towards when we did our state competition my senior year, she mentioned that they were going to have a booth set up at our state conference in Tulsa. Um, and so before going to that, I got a copy of my resume and a couple other things just showcasing like what I had already, like the certificates and stuff I had already earned so far. Um, went and spoke to them at state conference. I was actually the only one in my class that did. And I got a business card from Steve, who was my then supervisor. He's left since then, and was in contact with them for a few months. And then March, during my spring break, I went in for an interview, and they had me start in May as an intern.
And a funny part of that interview that you mentioned when we first spoke was that they didn't realize that you were still in high school. What did that conversation look like? What was that realization? I mean, it's a program that they're invested in. Was that just a light bulb moment of this exposure at the earlier point? It's working, right?
Mhm.
What did that look like for their end to see this is effective?
I think it was kind of a shock to them, honestly. I know not, I mean, granted, there's not a whole lot of people really that get involved in the industry that early. Um, but the interview went pretty normal. And then towards the end of it, they were asking me what my availability looked like. And I was like, well, I'm still in school. I don't graduate until May. And they were like, oh, you're still in high school? I was like, yeah. They were pretty surprised, pleasantly surprised that I had all of the designations and stuff that I did at that point, though. So.
It really speaks to the importance of not just showing up, which they were doing really effectively, but giving those high school students an opportunity, giving them the chance to have the internship. And certainly it was something that, from what I understand, changed your trajectory because there had been an interest in culinary arts and you
Mhm.
ended up pivoting. This was a pivot point. We talked about several pivot points in your journey, in your path, and this was one of them. How did you know that that was going to be something that led to this is now your professional pursuit?
So I didn't really know throughout the duration of my internship before that, even for a while after that, that I was going to end up back here and that I'd be staying here for a while. I really didn't have a whole lot of a plan for what I was going to do with my life. I mean, I knew that I had skills, I knew that I enjoyed certain things, but like even culinary school, I I got the interest in that because I worked at a restaurant throughout high school. And my boss was a real inspiration to me. I know he went to OSU for culinary, and so I thought maybe I would enjoy that. Um, the workplace as a whole wasn't great. It was really toxic, and so it kind of really burnt me out on it. So I was more just looking for something that I might enjoy, something that I might be able to use some of the skills and all of the hours that I had put in at tech for. And Insurica is just what came up. And then of course, I left. I went to high school. I didn't know that I would be back, or I went to college, not high school. Oh my goodness. I didn't know I would be back, but I got to a point where I didn't really have a whole lot of other options. And so I reached out to Carol and she was like, yeah, we'd love to have you back. It's like, oh, okay, cool.
Building that exposure, it really can sometimes it can be a short game, it can be a long game, and it's great to see how while that wasn't an immediate move on your part, the foundation had been established. You'd gained the knowledge, you'd made those connections. So it's really a case of showcasing the student and industry engagement piece working at its best. And I hope that that's something that as we talk a little bit more, that'll be a takeaway for anybody listening to this, to your story, getting inspired about how they can make a difference, how they can shape the future of the industry. But I would ask, what would you say to other students who have the opportunity to participate in the CISR High School program at their school, or who are thinking about a career in insurance? What would you say to them?
I would say don't back away from challenges. That's one thing that I look at things and I see things that are rather intimidating and I usually end up doing those things anyway. And I'm not trying to toot my own horn there or anything, but I've never been the type of person that think of myself as someone that does that, but I definitely always put myself in positions to be challenged. And I know a lot of people see hard work and they see challenges, and instead of going for it and working for it, they shrink away from it. And I think that's something that can really negatively impact your career and your trajectory in life. Because going through those challenges and working towards things like my CISR designation, I mean, that wasn't easy. I think I retook a couple of those tests 2 or 3 times before I actually got I actually passed. But I mean, it was worth it in the end. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed all the stuff that I did through BPA. I mean, I competed at the national level. I won several second in the nation awards, and it was challenging. It was work, but it got me to where I am today.
And I think where you are today needs to be underscored, that the fact that you're still just 1 year out of high school. You've accomplished so much, you've tackled so much, you've gone head on into challenges in just this short time with your academics and being out of it. And we talked a little bit about why high school is such a critical exposure juncture. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, because you really packaged a lot into all that high schoolers are experiencing and the many different questions that are at the forefront of their minds. So why is high school so important for programs like this to be?
I would say high school is a really, really pivotal point for a lot of people, because you reach the end of junior and senior year, and a lot of people are pressured. Okay, what are you going to do after you graduate? And a lot of people don't know that. I didn't know that. I knew I was going to college, but I only knew that because that was what was expected of me. And so I did it just because that's what everybody thought I was going to do. And it didn't work out for me. Um, but a lot of people in the business world, especially, will say it's not about what you know, it's about who you know. And if you don't put yourself in positions to connect with people and build that network of people that you know and people that know about you, you're probably not going to get as far as you would if you did that. Um, but also, a lot of people think of graduating high school and your option is to go to college or to get a job, but you have a lot of wiggle room there, and a lot of people don't use that to its full potential. I know even just during my experience in college, a lot of people taking interns won't hire interns until their senior year in college. And I don't think that's fair. And of course, nothing against them. I guess that's just what they're looking for. But I don't really think that a lot of companies work with younger students and younger employees as much as they really could.
Yeah, taking that chance, and the industry, much of the industry does show up in really meaningful ways to not just bring the visibility to the students so they have the awareness of this vibrant industry and the many career paths that exist within it, but taking it a step further and connecting to them to give them that opportunity. We talk a lot about bridging the classroom into careers. Um, and and there's a different level of commitment that's involved there, and that's something that's really, hats off to our emerging talent partners, and Insurica certainly as one of them, and even the rapport that you've forged with Joe Sanchez, in the local Insurica office. That's somebody who, in talking to him as a one-on-one industry professional, he is very deliberate, and it's autopilot. He automatically loops in the emerging talent piece. He's talked about your experience and being able to champion those youngest coming into the industry as, as equals for people who should be at the table, because that's the future. That really is, that's such a gift for you to have been a part of. And with that, I would say, what's your challenge to the industry? How can they best show up for students?
I would say the best thing to do was just to find places where you can go and connect with the people that are going to be entering the industry. I know when I started at Insurica and they were walking me around, I don't think there was anybody working there that was less than 20 or 30 years older than me. And of course, nothing against them, but then you experience people that you have people retiring in waves, and then you don't have employees to fill those spaces because you aren't hiring younger people. So I feel like going and connecting with the people that are going to be actually entering the industry, so they know what to expect, they know who they can turn to, they know what they need, so they are better equipped when they are in the workforce.
Hmm. And definitely having the insights from folks like you and even current students who are in these emerging talent programs, being deliberate in our storytelling of their experiences, of their challenges, of their hopes, so that we can pair that local industry engagement. That's something that we're really committed to doing here within the Academy. And it's just very motivating to see how many companies and organizations, large, small, nationally, um, are heeding that advice and stepping up. Um, to those that have not yet maybe dipped their toe in supporting emerging talent, we've talked about how to show up for students, but what about that call to action for the industry to just get started, get engaged, and show up in general?
Reach out to local schools. I will always be a really big supporter of tech schools specifically. I feel like they give a lot of better hands-on work in different industries rather than just basic knowledge. They actually show you how to apply it. So reach out to things like that. Student organizations are great. Of course, I did BPA. There's also Skills USA. There's a couple other ones that I don't know of, but they have a bunch of different events and stuff that they do, and a lot of times they will have companies that set up and just show this is what we do, this is what if you were to work with us, this is what you could be doing, just to bring more awareness and more exposure to what the workforce actually looks like to students that are in schools and in positions like this to enter that workforce.
Right. That's something that was a specific action item of ours this summer, where we crafted the virtual career connections, which was kind of bite size, behind the scenes with a multitude of industry professionals, just to see what their day in the life was like, what their path was like, what led them to where they are now. Because it's that consistent, you're right, it's the consistent messaging and showing, not just the students, showing the industry all that they can do and be and the ways that they can fit in, but it's, you really need to start it with, well, what's the story, how do I get to know more about what it could look like, help them plot that out. And so that's an effort that we're going to continue to build. Having stories from people like you is invaluable for showcasing what, from the initial exposure to your current path, what that looks like. How do you get there? How does the next wave of students replicate that in their own way? And I think that's just, it's the most impactful call to action for the industry. And you find more Katys. That's the beauty of it, right? You find these go-getter, knock your socks off, inspiring and impressive people who are literally the face of our industry, the future face of our industry. So I've got to thank you for sharing your insights across the board, and for having taken a chance on the CISR High School Program. It's great to see what that result has brought you to. And I would be remiss in not adding that part of your path now is also that you are recently engaged. So outside of the industry, right? You're keeping plenty busy. How is all of the wedding planning going? What is that looking like?
We don't actually have a date or any of that yet. Weddings are expensive. um, we're actually right now considering maybe just getting legally married and then doing a full ceremony later once we can
Mhm.
better plan for it and put more of our time and money into it. Um, I mean, right now it's just, I mean, my life is great. I have no complaints. But
Your life definitely sounds great from every aspect of it that I've heard, and it's so exciting. I think, people, we would all do well to heed some of the advice that you're sharing of being, having your eyes open, being really mindful of what does it look like now, what can we manageably really take on, in all aspects of it. And you've done nothing but inspire me. So I really want to thank you for spending some time with me today, for sharing your story with our audience. And we are really excited about the big things to come from you and look forward to continuing to watch your journey. But thanks for being with us today, Katy.
yeah, of course. I've really enjoyed talking to you guys.